Good morning, everybody. It's James Shoemark here. I'm the CEO of the Startup Race, and I'm talking to Fraser Morrison, who is the CEO of 1000 Steps, which has a sales company. Fraser is based in Singapore, but 1000 Steps operates in Scotland and Australia as well. And the reason we're talking to Fraser this morning is that I want us to get some hope and insight into where we might be in 6 to 8 weeks' time, given the fact that Singapore are ahead of us in this COVID-19 pandemic, which I think the situation really started to get bad in Singapore around the end of January, Fraser. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was quite interesting. It happened just right in Chinese New Year, yeah. So it was that critical moment, January, February, and that was ground zero, pretty much in Singapore.
So what was that like for you? What was it like for the community that you're in?
I think like everybody, we were all like, yeah, this is happening, but I don't think we really understood the seriousness of it. I don't think, as people really truly got that actually it was going to be what it is now, yeah.
And do you think, in whenever there's bad news, such as a death, we go through a phase of denial and then maybe anger and then acceptance and then, moving on. Do you think, did you or people, go through that different kind of phases?
Yeah, not really yet. I think what happened was the government here has been through SARS before, so they've been through this before as a crisis, maybe 2 times, yeah. And so they realized pretty early on that it was really serious, yeah, right? So there was a denial for 2 weeks from the majority of people. They didn't really get it, but the government knew and started to implement changes pretty much from day one, right? They controlled it. They knew what was going on. They were very, very proactive. As someone was telling me, actually, they have a hospital here that's not been used for a period of time that was built post-SARS, specifically for this purpose. So see, that's Singapore. It always has been ahead of the curve on that. And you can imagine there's not much land here, yet they've gone to the trouble of building that, and with the view that it's that serious. So I think the government taking really affirmative action, everybody woke up very, very quickly and went, crikey, this is serious.
And I don't think our government started to wake up now, but perhaps we didn't respond as quickly as the governments in Singapore and China and other countries.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that, but I don't blame them, right? It is what it is. I mean, we can all get sucked into politics, but I think there was 2 challenges. One is you've not been through it, so nobody really knows how serious it is and really truly understands what's going on and what the impact of it was and the way people got sick. So I don't think really it would have been easier to do it much quicker. And then you've got the second problem is that if people don't engage, you can bring all the rules in you like, but if people don't do it and follow the process strictly, it doesn't work, the isolation and the segregation.
So you told me the other day there you were quite surprised to see people at the beach here in the UK.
Yeah, I must say it did make me chuckle here, right? To see everybody in the groups and the masses when there's a direct segregation order there, right? Here, what happens in Singapore and China and Taiwan and Hong Kong is if they say separate, then everybody separates. And they're pretty strict on it. They enforce the rules. They've just introduced a new law now, which if you sit within 1 meter of someone and someone sees you doing that, you will get fined $1,000, right? Or more, yeah. So it needs that, right? You've got to have the rules and structures, or there's always going to be someone that breaks the rules. And now we see clearly that it's the people that break the rules or don't engage effectively that are causing the risk to everybody else.
Oh, wow. That must be a powerful psychological impact on the community.
Yeah, I think that we all need to be told what to do at certain points in our lives, and we're all big enough to understand that it's important and there is a genuine benefit to everybody. And there's always going to be the outliers that say, I'm not going to engage. And I think at the end of the day, there's a certain point that comes when you have to say, just get it done, right? And that's what Singapore does really, really well. There's no doubt about it. And that instills deep confidence. So when they say, do this, everyone does it. Everyone knows that there's a consistency across the board there. I think one of the good examples, James, is the food. So there was a run in food the first time. the government stepped in and said, look, guys, we've got enough food there. It's going to get drip fed into the supermarkets. Buy enough food for a week. There's no point in doing this. The supermarkets created a rule straight away that limited the amount you could buy. And everybody was like, okay, fine. I understand. Let's do that. And then they had a second crisis about 2 weeks ago when Malaysia closed the borders, which basically stopped the flow of food coming in. And there was a big risk of that. There was no run on food. Everybody was calm. Everybody knew that it's taken care of. So the shelves are stocked full of food, right? It's absolutely jam-packed. I mean, there's no issue here, right, at the moment.
So I went down to Morrison's yesterday morning to discover that there was a big queue outside the supermarket to get in. Do you have?
Yeah, my mum did the same thing in Aberdeen, yeah. So you just can't get the food, right? People are just bulk buying, yeah. So.
I think it's also to enforce the 2 meter distance rule. The supermarkets don't want to be overpopulated. And so, what's the public feeling now? Then, are people accepting this? Are they stoic? Are they? You said there's always a few outliers, but what's the general feeling in the population?
I mean, there's a confidence there that the government's in control. There's no doubt about that. I mean, there's a nervousness about what's going on. People are a little bit apprehensive. People are clearly, concerned about it, and taking actions. I mean, the general public as a whole is really, really good. Everybody's engaging the way they should be engaging. But there is still a fear of the unknown, right? No one really knows where this is going to go and how it's going to unfold and how it's going to impact Singapore. As you know yourself, we all tend to sit in our own little microcosms and do our own thing. So Scotland does its thing, Singapore does its, China, everyone's doing their own bit, right? And the world seems to have separated a little bit like that.
So is Singapore past the peak now, or is it still going up?
Look, my understanding of where it's at is it's actually been going up, but that's caused by people coming back. So basically they've closed the borders now, or they're about to close the borders. Anybody who comes in who's a PR or a citizen, permanent resident, has to go into 14 days quarantine in a hotel. So we are going up. There is a rise, but they've got very, very good tracing and tracking. They have a whole police force that rotates around driving through on who's got it. Everybody around them gets tested, and everybody they've touched or infected get tested. So they are in control of the spread of the disease. Yeah. So I suspect it's going to go up for a little while longer. I suspect they're going to bring measures in that make it a little bit tighter here and a little bit more difficult for everybody. Maybe even 7 days, 14 days of home order. I mean, that's not in the public domain, and I don't know if they're going to do that. But I suspect as it goes up, they will do that for a period of time to get control. Yeah. Because the numbers are increasing. So what they've done, and it's really clever, is they don't go bang sweeping changes. They make little changes on a weekly basis depending on what needs to happen. So they'll up the level or lower the level depending on how it's working. Right. Also, they communicate really effectively. We get 3 WhatsApp messages a day telling us how many patients, what's going on, what the advice is, what's happening, updates of rumors that are not true, and so on and so forth.
Okay, and you're well connected in the business community in Singapore. You want to just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously, my main client base is here, and I work very closely with a lot of business people in Singapore. And I think that in Singapore, the business it's business as usual under the new norm, right? So a lot of people are working from home. There's still people not working from home. You don't have to work from home, but they're encouraging it. So business as usual. The building sites are open, the factories are open, people are working, people are getting on with it. So there's not been a stop or a slowdown in the fact that people are actually working. I do think there's a slowdown in revenue. I think there's a slowdown in fees. There's a slowdown in sales, and there's a change in how the market's operating, and people are adapting to it. So maybe I would say the market's at 70% of where it was at before. But it's working very smoothly. Right? Everyone's getting on with it. People are taking meetings. People are looking at how they're going to engage and move forward. There's not a freeze. There's not this stop of business. There's not a hibernation going on here at all.
So people haven't been put on furlough as we have in the UK.
No, none of that, right? And they've managed that very subtly so that doesn't actually have to happen at the moment, right? I mean, who knows what's going to come. But that's been part of the process, yeah. So that instills confidence in knowing that we've now got addressable markets there. We've got Taiwan, we've got China, we've got Hong Kong. They're all pretty well organized from a systematic way, the same as Singapore is. So I suspect that the first markets that open up to Singapore will be those, and they'll start to navigate through those relationships with those marketplaces.
Yeah. So we're a lot of people are on furlough here in the UK.
Yeah.
So maybe people will be able to go back to work once we have the monitoring and tracing procedures in place, so the government can look after the people who have the virus.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bigger country. There's a lot more people. It's more difficult to do the tracing and coordinate that. So I think how it's going to unfold is going to be quite interesting. You know, how you're going to navigate through that. If you've got a population that's got a lot of COVID there, then countries are not going to let them in, right? So you know, that's the challenge, right? So now what we've got to do is step into engaging with our clients and with the world using technology, using the platforms and engaging in a different way. And I think there's going to be a flip. Well, there is already a flip that's clearly happening where people are realizing that, you know what, you can actually run all your projects remotely. I've got a friend of mine running a project in Australia, based in Aberdeen, and it's a big series of, I think he's running 9 different projects at the same time. And he gets up at 5 in the morning, works for 6 hours with them, gets 3/4 of the day, and he seems to be doing a good job with it, seems to be working well. So a lot of business can be done and is going to transfer across into the cloud and the interactivity within the cloud.
So you were in Scotland for 3 or 4 months last year. What would your advice be to Scottish business owners and entrepreneurs?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Jeff. So look, the first thing is we're definitely going to come out of this. Okay, no doubt about it, right? So I wouldn't. Yeah, okay, it's going to hurt, and sadly some businesses, you know, are going to go down, and sadly people are going to die. I think that's a disaster, a tragedy, or you know, I really feel for the world from that point of view. There is still going to be a new norm, and that's going to rotate around technology. It's going to rotate around good communication. It's going to rotate around the ability to whiteboard, to interact with people using Google Documents, about using using tools that allow you to deliver projects and drive projects through in a way that's done in the cloud, right? So we're going to adapt to that. Now, obviously, some businesses are not going to do that. If you're an architect, you've got to go to the site. If you're an engineer, if you're a joiner, you know, so that world's going to evolve as well. But things are going to change, and business as normal will become a reality. My guesstimate is that there's 2 parts to this. Between 8 weeks and 12 weeks, you're going to come out of it. Okay, and you're going to start to see things changing, numbers coming down, confidence coming back, and people will start to engage. I mean, there's clearly going to be a recession. There's no doubt about that across the world. I mean, this is a worldwide problem. It's not a Scottish problem. But there's going to be businesses there that function. There's going to be businesses there that survive, and there's going to be businesses that are able to operate effectively in the marketplace, and that's going to be your market. So adapting to the market, looking at your product that you have, how it's going to adapt to the market, how it's going to move forward, looking at how you engage with your customers, looking at technology and becoming good at using technology is critical parts to making to coming out of this the right way.
Okay, so what should we be doing then between now and May? Should we be learning the new technology? Should obviously thinking about how we can innovate and develop our service offering. What else should we be doing? Should we be trying to generate revenue, or should we park that for a little bit?
Yeah, again, really good question. There's 2 areas there that I see, or 3 areas probably, right? So number 1 is, if you've got a mobile workforce that has to work out, you need to strategize around that. So you've got to get your strategy for running a mobile workforce. How are they going to do what they do? How is that engagement going to happen? How are you going to make it happen as smoothly in a trackable, monitorable way? And that will involve using technology, definitely. So you need to be looking at the systems and the processes that rotate around that. The second thing for me is, look, you know, as a business, we've got to make sales and revenue, okay? But this next 2 to 3 months, I don't believe that people are receptive to salespeople sitting down with them and having sales conversations. And what I discovered in Scotland, and it's a bit of an eye-opener, is we don't like sales, yeah, right? They don't like the word sales. But at the end of the day, in business, you need operations, you need product, and you need sales. So if you don't have sales as part of that offering and a strategy for putting your product in front of clients, you're going to have an issue and you're going to have a set of challenges that rotate around that. So what do? I believe you have conversations with people, okay, that are not sales orientated.
Okay.
For the next 3 months, you have a conversation, you reach out to people, you build up relationships. And we like a structure for a meeting where you have rapport, maybe you introduce yourself, and then maybe you ask them about what they're doing, and then maybe you talk about some collaboration. I would flip that now, and I would spend 40 or 50% of the time just having a chat, general chat about things, what's going on. And then I'd have a business chat about what's happening with the businesses, with a view to exploring how possibly you can help them do what they do, but not trying to get something for yourself. So a non-transactional conversation, you're not trying to gain anything. All you want is a relationship.
Yeah, because I imagine that people aren't really spending any money at the moment. They're kind of, you know, it's the intake of breath.
Right. If you go out and you try and penetrate a market like that, you're being selfish at that point, because you're saying, how do I sell into it? Yeah. Now, if you have the right conversations and you create a very safe world and you don't pitch and go for a demo and etc., but just have a chat, get to know people, you'll build up a relationship in the future. What's really interesting about that is people might engage with you.
Okay.
You'll be surprised. Your numbers won't be so high, but you still will have a set of numbers that rotate around that. So from a sales point of view, most salespeople do 1 new first meeting a week as an average. It's not enough. You need to be talking to 5 to 10 new people every week. Have a conversation, set up a good quality nurture model to nurture those relationships over time. Don't ask them for anything. And then navigate through the next 3 months, talking to them, sharing content, engaging with them, so that when it comes out the other side, you can reach out and say, hey, James, let's have a chat. Things seem to be getting a bit better. It'd be great to touch base with you. And I can step into a process of developing that relationship. Now,
I guess, I guess the goal, or what you're offering needs to help them to be successful in their business, so they can survive this pandemic.
It's really interesting, because that's what I was just about to say, is that I think the third part of the model is you've got to take a step backwards and look at your product, especially if you're professional services, especially if you're technology. You really have to have a look at it. How am I helping my customers do what they do better over the next 9 to 12 months? It's a very difficult world for most businesses. If you've got software, if you've got professional services, you need to reframe it for the next 3 to 6 months. And how do I help customers adapt, engage more effectively? And that's not about being gimmick and saying, what I'm going to do is teach people how to use Zoom, or that's about sitting down strategically and saying, where's our strengths? How do we adapt to this environment? How can we help our customers do the same thing? How can we help prospective customers? And how does the language and the framing of what we do sit within the context? So if someone is a data architecture specialist, okay, right? I don't want to go in and say, what's happening to your data at the moment? That doesn't make sense, right? Like, really? But if I sit down and say, how are you using data in reference to what's going on with COVID-19, yeah? How did the company use it? How are they assessing it? What is the number saying? How are you using the numbers to do that? Now I'm having a different conversation, and I'm helping them navigate through the process at the moment. So it's got to be relevant, and it's got to be what companies are doing needs to be in line with empathizing and understanding where the customers are, right? And looking to help them, not sell to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, some people will have products or services that are ideally suited to this environment, and we have a couple of businesses taking part in the in our £1,000 startup race right now, who are ideally positioned to help people in this crisis. Some participants, unfortunately, aren't. What would you say to people who, like in the tourism industry or in travel, what should they be doing?
Gosh, it's a brutal question. Look, I think it's astoundingly difficult. I suppose there's two things I would think, right? Number one, You know, how are you projecting forward? What's going to happen? How are you assessing it? You know, what do your numbers say? I mean, obviously, it's not just the travel industry; it's hotels. It's, you know, how are it's shops? It's retail. It's how are you all navigating through this next period? And secondly, how do you pivot into something else just now with your teams, with your staff? You know, are there marketplaces that you can work with? Are there other businesses you can collaborate with to drive revenue in, where you utilize your resources, you know, to go down that road? I mean, with a view to not losing your people. I mean, ideally, we don't want to lose people. I mean, we want to. Mark Benioff from Salesforce is saying, look, for the next 6 to 9 months, let's not lose people. Let's work out with our staff and try and reduce the salaries, but let's not lose people. Let's not pay people off. Let's try and keep the businesses going, because you lose your expertise, you lose your skills, you lose the ability. I mean, you have to start again and train someone up. It takes 9 months. So I think they're in a really tricky place. I think they've got to get creative. I think they've got to re-skill people. I think they can be doing things, you're right, you know, right, potentially exploring different options. I mean, it's a very difficult, busy world that they're in. How can they engage in the world in a different way? You know, it's tricky. So I think there's 3 types of businesses. There's businesses that sit there. It's very, very difficult for them. Okay, and they've just got to really get creative from here, right? You know, and look at what they're doing, and also know their numbers. The mid-level businesses that are surviving just really need to take a step back and say, why am I surviving? What do I do? How do I blossom in this environment? How do I reinvent myself? And it is about reinvention. And then the businesses that are doing really well, this is the time to consolidate. This is the time to look at what you're doing, to expand and grow and optimize the opportunity that's here for them without capitalizing on the problem. So,
yeah, and I guess it's an opportunity for the businesses that can solve lots of problems in this desperate time to get investment, to hire staff, to expand and grow, and you know, help the economy.
I think they have a responsibility to hire staff. I think they should be going to the other businesses that maybe line up with them, where the people have skill sets that can work, and hire their people, you're right, temporarily. I think there's a lot of, I think it's clearly obvious everyone's coming together. I thought that clap thing that you did was amazing, all right? You know, it's a beautiful thing, brought a tear to my eye, all right? And I think that the British society has come together, right? This is galvanized everyone. It's not Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales anymore, right? It's Britain, and I think Britain has to do this together. And I think this is Britain. I mean, it's pretty amazing, yeah, right? And I'm not a fan of Brexit, and I'm not a fan of the you know the way it's been run. But now, the country as a whole, yeah, right. And now's the time to work together, to collaborate, and help each other.
Wow. I mean, I guess it reminds me of the Second World War, and you know, the spirit of cities and the Londoners surviving the Blitz and working together with each other. And I am kind of getting the feeling that you know, this is the, you know, I think back to my parents who survived the Second World War, and we are making history in this period of time, and our children will look, and our grandchildren will look back and and think of this time in the same way. So I guess we do need to be brave and courageous, and collaborate and support one another, and be kind to each other, and have integrity, and focus on the positives and that's going to be around in a couple of months' time.
Yeah, you know, like, great, but I'm very pragmatic as well personally, right? We've also got to look at what can we do now that sets us up for then. So we've got to take steps and actions and affirmative actions. We've got to be reaching out to people. Our salespeople need to be doing meetings with people. They need to be exploring other countries, right? Reaching out to Singapore, reaching out to Italy, I mean, Italy's not good, it's in trouble at the moment, but reaching out to parts of the world where there's not chaos, China, Taiwan, having conversations and dialogue starting the relationships, right? Because when you step back into it in 3 months, if you've got this lovely pipeline of conversations of people that you've talked to, it's going to make it a lot easier. If you've pivoted your product now, when you're having brainstorming sessions, you're adapting, you're testing the market, you're asking the market, I understand that this is not right for you now, but down the road, when we get to here, is this something that would sit well with you? How would that look? What advice would you give us? Now you've got a better understanding of your product. So we've got to adapt. We've got to get people working harder, smarter, and push people. You're right. The companies that are lucky enough, I had a conversation with a client today, and they're lucky enough to be in a really good position. They've got good renewals. They're very stable, and the market's going really well. It's going well for them. But I was saying to the team, you've got to work harder, guys. You cannot be sitting in your laurels, you're right? You've got to be doing double what you did before to make sure that you stay there, you're right? You've got to be focused. You've got to stay on top of it. So I think there's an attitude here. I think that there's stuff we can all be doing, but that comes from leadership and culture and C-suite and HR driving this through. And then everybody getting busy, taking ownership and creating and doing things that are going to set you up for 2 months, 3 months, because definitely we're coming out, right? There's no doubt about it. So you've got the right products, you've got it set up, you've tested the products in the marketplace, you know what you're doing in your value proposition is, you know what your marketplace is, you know the people you should be talking to, and you've been talking to them 3 months, it's going to give you a running start.
I must admit that's I mean, I was, yesterday I was feeling quite despondent, and the weather here in Scotland has been particularly dreich as well. Can't see anywhere, can't see more than one block with this mist. And I do feel that you've kind of energized me and given me some hope of what I should be doing, and just really talking to people, building relationships, thinking about how to work together, for when things improve in the future has definitely been, it's definitely helped me, and I really thank you for that. It lifted my spirits, even. And so hopefully we can carry on having conversations around this. I definitely appreciate your energy and your mindset in overcoming this crisis. How can other people get in touch with you, Fraser, and benefit as well?
Yeah, I mean, Fraser Morrison. I'm based in Singapore. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way. Just send me a connection request and start a conversation with me. I'm quite happy to do that. And thanks for saying that, James. Look, I think, again, the reason we had the call is to put this point across that you're just stepping in, and there is a lack of light at the end of the tunnel at the moment because you don't really know how it's going to unfold. It definitely will get better. That's 100% certain. The issue is it 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months? But it's that time zone. And if you set yourself up now, 2 to 3 months goes by very quickly, all right? And you'll come out the other side. And if you're in a good, strong position with those things in place, with strategies and structure around that, with the right culture, everybody's come together as a team, you're going to be in a much better position to get back to business as usual. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, thanks for that, Fraser. And so if anybody's watching this video, connect with me on LinkedIn as well, and we can come together and help each other out.
Shoemark, based in Edinburgh.
Yeah, James Shoemark here in Edinburgh, Scotland. And the sun, the good thing is when you get in a plane, might not be happening soon, in Scotland you forget that there is a sun, and you get in the plane and you go above the clouds, and it's like, oh, it's sunny.
Yeah, it's a great analogy, and there is a sun there, and as long as we keep going, we will find the sun. So
yeah,
no doubt. I'm really absolutely certain about that.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
No problem, James. Lovely chatting to you. Thank you.